Probably the positive reaction that we are getting from the people, the reason is that we don't want to be a politician. I would never call myself politician. I mean, I would be always a political activist, which I mean, even if I get elected, and that is why I believe that there is a positive reaction, because we are all tired of the politicians.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. I am very excited about this guest because, as I already told him before we started recording, I've never had anybody like him on my podcast. And because I always say I don't do politics, but I think in this case it is necessary and it is fine to talk about what we are going to talk about. He is a political activist, a journalist. He is the founder and leader of the Union of Cypriots. And the exciting news is that he is a parliamentary candidate, a member of the Cyprus parliament for the Green Party. Welcome to Most Memorable Journeys, Oz Karahan.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for inviting me to this nice program.
I should have said, and I meant to say when I introduced you, that you are a friend of my son. That's how I found you, because my son is also an activist, maybe not as strong as you are, but I'm very proud of my son as well, and you guys, that you do something about the things that you care for. How did this start, Oz?
Yes, we are a very good friend and also comrade with your son as well. And he's amazing, I have to say. One of the most valuable person probably in the Cyprus society, I can say. How did it started? I mean, the political activism.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to where you were born and everything, but
okay.
When did you start caring about politics? When did you start caring about what you do?
I think, I mean, as earliest I can remember, probably because of my family background. My mother is Cypriot, a Turkish-speaking Cypriot, originally from Larnaca, Kalahoryo village. My father is originally a family comes from Georgia, an area called Meskhetiya. Both of them having displaced because of different reasons. One of them is because of the Turkish occupation. The other one is because of the other wars. So it started, I guess, from home to care about what is happening, care about justice, and care about for the peoples who are fighting for something. I mean, emancipation, liberation, and any kind of freedom. So I can say that it started at home, all these.
Now, I have a lot of people listening to my podcast who are not in Cyprus. There's a lot of people who are from all over the world. And I would like to, with your words, to explain to somebody who is sitting somewhere in, I don't know, Greenland, maybe, or somewhere, what is the situation in Cyprus? How do you explain to somebody what Cyprus is when it comes to the political situation?
Cyprus is just another victim of the, divide and rule, divide and conquer strategy of the colonialists. Of course, for not centuries, for millennials, Cyprus was a colony because of its importance and its location, just being few miles away from Palestine, Egypt, Syria. I mean, its all history is being colonized, and that's mean that people are also colonized. And of course, the most important one was the British colonialism. And that was the period where divide and rule strategy implemented. There are people in Cyprus who talks different languages today. People in the world knows as Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. Even this fact was, if we go 100 years before, wasn't something real, because people were talking, most of the today's Turkish Cypriots were talking Greek, and the people were living in the mixed villages all together. There was nothing separating them. And during of course, the colonial times, British colonialism, like it happened many other places. It's not a special story for Cyprus. The divisive elements in society implemented, the more ethnical elements implemented, especially for the today's Turkish Cypriots. The Brits created the artificial identity, bringing teachers from the Turkey, building mosques and these kind of activities. They created the artificial identity and tried to divide the people. And when we come to the 50s, as you know, all over the world, there was an anti-colonial movements happening against the Brits, against the French. And in Cyprus, we had a armed national liberation struggle, a guerrilla struggle as well, which led us to have an independent state, the Republic of Cyprus, where Turkish Cypriots and the Greek Cypriots were living together. And of course, that republic was a post-colonial arrangement, and the Brits, Turks, and the Greeks made a divisive and ethnicist constitution, which prevented people to democratically unite. And shortly, again, because of after the independence, Cyprus take position with the anti-colonial world, with the non-alignment movement, with and all these anti-colonial countries. In 1974, NATO, with the help of Turkey and the Greek government, Greek military junta at that time, orchestrated a coup and a Turkish occupation in Cyprus. And after the occupation, Turkish occupation, people forcefully displaced the Turkish-speaking Cypriots from the free areas of Cyprus, forced by Turkey to move to the occupied areas, and the Greek-speaking Cypriots in the occupied areas of Cyprus forced to move to the free areas, the areas that are under control of the Republic of Cyprus. And basically, the imperialists managed to create two segregated areas for the people of Cyprus. This is the, short history of Cyprus. But since then, since 1974, Cypriots are still fighting against this, because the history that shows that we are one in every way. And the more important than the history, destiny tells us that we have to be one for, again, the values that I mentioned, for emancipation, for freedom, for living with dignity. And Cypriots are fighting against all these oppressors. The Turkish occupation and British presence on the island today, until today.
So that kind of means that we've never really been free. We have never really been completely freed. Do you believe that this was meant to fail from the beginning, the way it was set up?
Yes, because in 1960, again, after that heroic national liberation struggle of EOKA, British managed to implement these ethnicist elements in the constitution, meaning dividing the parliament, dividing the power, also even the law, even the governmental employees in every way possible. So when you put an ethnicist element, an apartheid style arrangement in a society, this is doomed to fail. This is gonna fail. It cannot work. We are seeing the same thing happened in Bosnia today. Again, the US and the NATO and the Europe implemented a so-called constitution and solution in Bosnia, and it's a failed state. The bottom line is that we are living in a 2026, and if you try to still praise a arrangement with an apartheid style arrangement, an ethnicist arrangement, first of all, this is not a progressive thinking. Second of all, this is not gonna work in today's world. And this is not a just solution. This is not a equality. And as we always say, apartheid cannot be a solution anywhere.
That is true, and that has been proven all over the world, hasn't it? Let's talk a little bit about Oz. Little Oz, you were born in Turkey. And how was your childhood? How was your youth? How did you grow up?
Yes, I born in Istanbul. My father's family had businesses over there. They were industrialists in over there. Of course, coming from this diverse background family created unique experience, I could say, and being in a country like Istanbul. And of course, I don't know why. Probably usually the mother's identity is more dominant in the kids' mentality. Me and my the sisters, we were always feeling that we are living in Istanbul, but we are Cypriots. We had that feeling. And Istanbul in the 90s was a different place. Today still in Turkey there are many terrible things are happening because of the government. But at that time they were worse things were happening. The freedoms were very limited. For example, the Kurds of Turkey were still very, very oppressed. They were denied for their identity or other kinds of freedoms for people who thinks different than the state's ideology, because Turkey is a country that has a state ideology, and anybody who were thinking differently were punished. So it was a different atmosphere. I was feeling that there is a huge military oppression in every area of the life, including the education. Going to school, the primary school over there, we were like soldiers. From head to toe, with the uniforms to hairstyle, the things that we can talk and we cannot talk. It was like a military camp thing. But for me, it was a very, today I'm realizing that, of course, educational, because it was very valuable for me to learn, grow in a country that is occupying my motherland. That I can say that the state that is enemy of my existence. And I feel lucky, actually, to experience that, because you cannot read and learn these things from the books or from the documentaries. So for me, though, I stayed over there until I was 15. And when I was 15, I moved to Cyprus to finish my high school. I moved to my grandparents and finish my high school here. And the Turkey chapter is closed for me. But that 15 years, very informative, very formative for me, that I'm still using the things that I know about that state and that society over there.
That's very interesting. And I was listening to, while you were talking about schools and, uniforms and this and that. And the word that is in the back of my mind all the time is hatred, hatred. Do you do you believe that children are taught to hate?
Yes. I mean, yes. I mean, when you were in Turkey, and I believe still today as well, the education system teach you one thing, that everybody is your enemy. They were teaching the children over there a phrase: Turk's only friend is a Turk.
Mm.
That was the the mentality that they were teaching. But of course, that's for the that was their teaching for external, but the hatred was internal as well, because you were going to school and your classmates were Kurds, and in the classroom you were hearing the lessons about how they are the bad people. They rebelled against the state for centuries. I mean, it's a different level. Most of the countries in the Middle East probably has a teaching that like we are one and everybody is enemy us, and those kind of mentality. But in Turkey, there was also, they were teaching their kids internal hatred as well within their society. So there was lots of hatred, of course. There were lots of stress for growing in that. I was feeling that from the kids. I mean the Turkish kids, that they were feeling existential stress because of all the hatred they were taught in the school.
Of course. I mean, this is it's straining on a child's soul to have to hate and wonder why. Now, you said you came to Cyprus when you were 15 and you lived with your grandparents. Whose choice was? Did you choose that, or was it your parents' idea, or why did you do that?
It was my choice, and thankfully, I mean, my family was open-minded enough to accept that. I mean, again, as I mentioned, that all of my siblings and ourselves, we had a special attachment for Cyprus. But I guess I was the only one who, like, came up with an idea to move to my grandparents, and they accepted that, and that was my choice. Yes.
So, when you came to Cyprus, did your idea of being a Turkish Cypriot change, like the idea that you had from your mother, and what it was like when you came to live here? Was that did it was it the same thing? Did you feel that they were different from what you had an idea that they would be?
A little bit, but probably the idea. I mean, the not because of my mother, but probably when I was a kid, until I was 15, I had a different idea because of the environment that I was in. I'm talking about the Istanbul, and when I come to Cyprus, that changed, of course. I mean, before coming to Cyprus as a kid, it was just a cultural feeling that I was feeling close to Cyprus. But I could say that as a political mentality, because I started politics very early. When I was 13 or something, I was already in the political groups, youth groups and stuff in Istanbul. So coming to Cyprus changed politically my knowledge and mentality about generally about the Cyprus. Because I mean, living in a society, I'm talking about the Turkish-speaking Cypriots right now. Turkish-speaking Cypriots are the society living under Turkish oppression daily, and you see that how the auto-censorship that they are living in, and that affects you. You see that your friends, relatives cannot talk outside from their home freely about their position against Turkey's presence or the Turkish settlers' presence on the island. And this happens. This is a reality for all Cypriots, all Turkish Cypriots, even people who act in right-wing or left-wing politics. There is no Turkish Cypriot that is happy about Turkey's presence on the island and the Turkish settlers' presence on the island, because it affects their life in many different ways, not only political ways, in social ways as well. They need to stop themselves to express in their culture. Okay, and of course politically as well. But from there, you can go to more, let's say, in quotation mark, elitist mentality. When the occupation happens, Turkish capital comes to Cyprus. So the bourgeois of Turkish Cypriots are also feeling under threat as well. So in every level possible, I see that the people are, and the people that I care are under this stress, and they cannot talk. And yeah, basically coming to Cyprus made me learn more about Cypriot society. And that's the reason maybe still I'm trying to do something, that because we have a oppressed society. We were talking about Turkish Cypriots, Turkish-speaking Cypriots, but it's similar with the Greek-speaking Cypriots. Huge oppression, because every Cypriot living under Turkey is threat. Maybe one of them lives in a daily, but the other one is also, they know that they cannot live or continue. They cannot have a future on an island where half of it is occupied by a foreign power, and that foreign power keeps on sending illegal settlers and build illegal settlements to that tiny island. So yeah. Basically, these are the feelings
I think this is something that many people are not aware of. I think especially here on my side, or on it's people don't realize that the Turkish-speaking Cypriot, the Turkish Cypriots are also suffering. And how would you explain to somebody who doesn't know anything the difference between a Greek Cypriot and a Turkish Cypriot?
I don't believe that there is a much difference. There is any difference actually, because when we look at historically, there is a phenomenon called linobambaki, which was the term that Ottomans used for today's Turkish Cypriots, which means lino means linen, bambaki means cotton, and linen, cotton. Ottomans gave this name to today's Turkish Cypriots because they were the converts of Greek Cypriots, Latins, Armenians, Maronites, who basically converted to, fakely converted to Muslim, become a Muslim, to not pay taxes or get a better position in the society. And that is why until 1930s, most of the Turkish Cypriots were speaking Greek as mother tongue. And British had to bring teachers, Turkish teachers, to teach them. So culturally, there is no single differences. Even the folk songs are the same, and the Turkish lyrics added to those folk songs after 1950s. Folk songs, folk dance, the food and everything is the same. The only difference could be during this conversion process, and in 1930s, when the British brought teachers from Turkey, these teachers were quite, of course, Kemalist, which means also extremely secular teachers. So they brought that kind of extreme secularism to the today's Turkish Cypriot community. So Turkish Cypriots right now are quite, known in the academic area or in the sociology field, that being probably the most atheist level of secularism, I would say. There is no religion in any way in the Turkish Cypriot society. This, on the other hand, in the Greek Cypriot society, of course, the Orthodox is part of Orthodox belief is the part of the culture, part of the society. But I would say that the Turkish Cypriot secular identity probably because of that there is no even conflict between these two things, to the beliefs. So today, because of the language changed, I would say that the only difference is the language. But of course, to underline that, I born in 1990. I don't know. I don't know Greek. They didn't teach us the Greeks. But our grandparents, the Greek was their mother tongue. Some of them was like their mother tongue, and some of them was their mother tongue. And still, in some villages in the occupied area, such as Galina Porni, such as Lurigina, and the villages around the Lefka area, the Turkish Cypriots are talking Greek in their home. So in any way, I could not draw a line about difference. You know what I mean? It's very gray, which is a very good thing, in my opinion. Of course,
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. And I totally agree with you. It's politics, it's things that separate people, not mentality or traditions or whatever. Now, let's talk a little bit about something different, because I know that for your cause and for what you do, you travel a lot. You go, I know that you go to, I remember a trip to Malaysia, I think, and I remember you go to Europe. What is your favorite place in the world? Where do you, and when you go, do you just go for your political work, or do you also enjoy it a little bit?
Most of the time political work, but maybe a few times I could make the stay longer and see the culture as well. My favorite, I love, I mean, I love every country in the world. That's so cliche, but seriously, when I go anywhere, neither in the global south or global north, everywhere has that, the culture fabric that, and when you look for it, you find that, and I love it. But if I could make like the places that affected me the most, I could say Japan. I've been in Japan. First time I went when I was 15. Then I've been in Japan maybe 5, 6 times. That affect the society over there, the civilization over there
The politeness that
affected
people
me.
have for each other.
Uh,
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, politeness is one of them. The structure is other part of them. They live in a very modern environment, let's say. But the society is still has that traditional elements, which is, I believe that is something great. So it in every aspect it affected me. It's gonna sound strange, but I also got affected when I lived for a while and worked for a while in the United States and also politically be active over there. That also affected me, but in a teaching, it teach me many things in that way. I mean, seeing the oppression, different kind of oppression over there, and those kind. It was very teaching to me. I could say as well. So I could tell you many things about, I mean, the different places that I live. If you want a most special place for me, I would say probably Prague, Czech Republic, because I studied over there and I also politically a little bit become active over there, and that is one of the place, probably the place that I like the most. Maybe because of the memories, maybe because of the other things, I could put Prague
A
in
beautiful
the
town.
first
But you know what? I
place, probably.
actually totally agree with you, because I think when you have depending on your mindset, and I use that as a cliche phrase, but I believe that there is the same amount of good and bad people everywhere in the world. You just have to find them, or you just have to, because
Definitely.
there are so many things that play a role in people's lives. And in some places, it's a very, very hard life. We live in, I call this world where we are is the first world, and then there's the third world. I believe that in the first world where we are, with the choices that we have, I think it's our duty to live a good life.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
So, Oz, now we've been talking about politics and I mean, how did this come up? Obviously, as an activist, you have a desire to participate, you have a desire to change. I have been stalking you on social media. I have been reading your Facebook page and I have been reading comments. And I don't think I've ever met anybody in my life who had so many positive comments. People really, really like you. Why is that?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, being active, political activism is very important. But of course, to make a change, we also need to get involved in the democratic process because we believe in democracy. And the elections are, that's why important. And that's why I am candidate for the parliamentary election, as you mentioned. And Union of Cypriots are a movement which is collaborating with the Green Party, ecologist movement of Cyprus. We'll have other candidates as well. Because we want to change some stuff in the society that could be changed in the parliament. And probably the positive reaction that we are getting from the people, the reason is that we don't want to be a politician. I would never call myself politician. I mean, I would be always a political activist, which even if I get elected, and that is why I believe that there is a positive reaction, because we are all tired of the politicians. Why I am saying differentiating? Because politics is not a job. So that's why I don't like the term politicians. But unfortunately, these today, the parliamentarians, the ministers, the people who are ruling us in every country around the world are the people who see that this as a job, as a profession. But politics cannot be a profession. I mean, that is the thing. And basically, during our activities and during our actions, during our campaigns and policy proposals, we are centering the people. We are centering the future of our people, the next generation. And thankfully, and I hope it will continue, the people sees that in a sincere way. People sees that we are sincere. And because some of the policies, some of the actions we do, we pay price as well. We pay sometimes heavy price, including, death threats and other things, to the messiness and the dirtiness of the environment that we are living in, and we are trying to expose all these. Of course, some people are bothered by that, and I think people are realizing that, and that's why they are supportive. But again, when we are getting elected, we are not gonna be part of that politician group. We are gonna be fighting against those politicians, the people who sees the politics as a profession. We are gonna fight against them.
As a profession and as a money-making situation,
exactly.
Because that is more or less the bottom line, isn't it? Not many politicians, or whatever we want to call them, are not in it for their cause or for their beliefs. It's for the money.
Exactly. That's true.
Well, I will vote for you. I promise you, because I don't know. I have a Cypriot citizenship and I don't really vote, but this time you'd be one reason I would. Now, before we close, we're getting to the end, but one thing that bothers me when people demonstrations, I believe when you are an activist, when you are doing something for a cause, you should be active, you should go and demonstrate, you should. But what bothers me is destroying stuff. When it turns into what is your take on that? What do you think about that?
I mean, destroying stuff. If in the demonstrations people destroys other people's let's say belongings, that's problematic. I understand. I mean, like, we have the anger. I mean, we want to do something. We want to also damage, but we need to direct it to the correct target. In that sense, I would say the many protests that we are seeing. When I see that the protesters attacking the other people's belongings and properties, yeah, I mean, that's a problematic thing. Let's concentrate our anger and rage against the ones who have problem with us, the problem with the people. I believe, I mean, to this, I don't see any problem with the rage and anger. Rage and anger is good when you direct it in a correct way, when you channel it in correctly to the correct target. Because if we don't do that, the people who are oppressing us, they want this anyway. They want you to channel your anger and rage to other people who are not the responsible for that, and again create a divide and rule tactic.
Exactly. I was just going to say, and that's where we are back to the beginning. We're back to divide and rule, aren't we?
Absolutely correct.
Well, Oz, this has been very, very informative. I have really enjoyed talking to you. Any last words? Tell people why they should vote for you.
I'm very shy. I really don't know. I'm not a politician. That's why I don't know what to say about that. This question
All right.
sometimes.
Well, I will say it. I think you are a very, very just and correct person, and I think you definitely deserve a chance. And if you're not doing a proper job, then you will not be re-elected. But I think you should. It's important. And also you are young, and I think what we really need in this world is younger activists, younger people, not these 80-year-old or whatever. You don't know. You know who I'm talking about. So I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you so much for being on Most Memorable Journeys today. Oz Karahan.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for all the words, for inviting me here. It was a pleasure.
If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.